Hey, how are you? Good morning. A little bit earlier start today. Had to get up a little bit earlier to take care of some snow-related issues because we got a little bit of snow over the evening, so we got to do some prep work in the morning to make our day go as smooth as possible. So that means getting up a little bit earlier to do some snow removal and other sort of responsibilities. So I thought I got an extra little bit of time, meaning if I'm up, why not hit the airwaves? This is a little bit earlier today, in case I want to do a little bit more leisurely of a page flipping, just to have the option. That being said, welcome. Thursday, February 11th, 2021. The daily newspaper read. Blue plastic today. I was actually impressed that it arrived as early as it did. I guess maybe they figured if we don't get this to the people's driveways, front lawns, the curb outside their house, wherever it lands, by 7:30, something like that, we could get bogged down in the snow removal stuff. So maybe they sent them out early. Either way, whatever it is, it worked, because here it is. Want to just get started? Okay, let's do this. Did you get your paper, though? I mean, you might not have gotten yours. I'm assuming things that I don't know for sure. But I got mine. So, Times. Ooh. Inquirer. Put the Times over here, as we do. For my, sorry, wrong one. My reading pleasure later today. And for now, we'll separate some sections. All right? A day, huh? What a day. Already. It already begins. It's snowing out. When it snows out, it's like, oh. Throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into the day. Region? Sports? Saw a Flyers game, another one canceled. So we'll look more at that and get to sports. COVID strikes again. COVID's been striking left and right for almost a year now, huh? Food and dining, which I probably won't read too much of. We typically don't devote too much time to food and dining. Today's a special 55 and up section. 55 and plus living. I said before, until I reach this age, I'm going to choose just not to devote any time to it and just put it right in the trash bin. To that end, with the separating sections behind us, we can now do sports. Let's take a quick look through sports, huh? Yeah. This Flyers game. It's another game they're not going to be able to play because of coronavirus. The Flyers' stretch of inactivity has been extended because of the league's COVID-19 protocol. Their game against the New York Rangers was supposed to be Sunday at Madison Square Garden. That's been postponed. The NHL announced Wednesday night. The Flyers aren't scheduled to play again until February 18th, a week from today, against the visiting Rangers, which will be their first game in 11 days. Ouch. After that, they won't play again until February 21st at Lake Tahoe against the Bees. We said yesterday that Claude Giroux is one of the Flyers in the protocol. Justin Braun, Travis Sanheim. We do have Sixers, though. We can watch some Sixers tonight at 10 p.m. against the Trailblazers. Should be a good game if you can make it up till 10. Part of the cliche, but the 76ers know they must take it one game at a time on this road trip. That was obvious during Tuesday's 119-111 victory over the Sacramento Kings at the Golden One Center. Now the Sixers will face the Portland Trailblazers on Thursday night in the Moda Center, in the second contest of the 4-game road trip on the West Coast. The Blazers won, as we know, last time they met, 121-105, despite having 6 players sidelined, including all-star point guard Damian Lillard. Now, is Lillard going to play tonight? I don't know. I'll look through the section here to see if he's going to be playing. Okay, yep. So Lillard returned the next game, so that means he'll be back tonight. Which, if you want to watch good basketball and you want to see a competition between, as even as can be amongst two teams, you want all the stars to be in. And you want to just watch it in terms of enjoyment and entertainment purposes. I want to see Damian Lillard play. He's a great player. He's really fun to watch. So, bring it on. Oh, there was an issue, I guess, here with Mark Cuban maybe thinking, I'm not going to play the anthem anymore. He was kind of saying, I'm going to stop playing that before my games, but let's see, he reversed course. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban relented Wednesday, and the national anthem will be played before home games this season, after the NBA reiterated its long-standing league policy to include the song. The league's initial reaction to Cuban's decision was to say teams were free to conduct pregame activities as they wished, with the unusual circumstances created by the COVID pandemic. It's convenient. Hey, it's the coronavirus, so you guys can do whatever you want. A little bit of a washing hands stance there. Most teams don't have fans in home games, but the NBA abruptly reversed course with Cuban's decision reverberating around the country, including a question put to White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki during her daily briefing. Athlete protests of social and racial injustice during the Star-Spangled Banner. You remember that, right? That ring a bell? Became a flashpoint between then-President who and various leagues during his administration. Quote, with NBA teams now in the process of welcoming fans back into their arenas, all teams will play the national anthem in keeping with long-standing league policy, the NBA said. You must be patriotic prior to your games. I need to see hands on hearts. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I totally obviously get the tradition. It's been going on forever, but it always kind of confused me in a way that at a sporting event we have some sort of allegiance to the country. We have to spend time prior to the game, promoting. And I don't know. I just feel like it's a kind of a weird connection. And it just kind of happened. The connection happened. Somebody said, let's play the national anthem before a game. They started doing it. But just if you think about it, does it really make sense? Okay. I'm not saying I don't love my country. I'm just saying, isn't there a time and a place to play the anthem? Is that time and place prior to a basketball game? Standings. Sixers still atop the East, in the Atlantic. Flyers still second, even though they haven't played in some time. Let's move the weather. It's snowing right now outside here. But does that mean it's going to continue throughout the day? The answer is no. I mean, it's going to taper off. You're going to have some considerable cloudiness tonight. And you're going to see some snow again on the weekend. But I don't think we're anticipating in a full day, even a full morning, snow showers here in the Philadelphia region. I wish I didn't see these snowflakes here though, Saturday and Sunday. I'd like to have a weekend without snow getting in the way. We even got next week looking at snow. Tuesday. Snow possible in the PM. Well, Punxsutawney did say 6 more weeks of winter. And you know, what can we expect? When such a decree is offered, we have to just say, obviously it's going to snow more. Groundhog told us so. Today's sunset, 5:32. Okay. We're done with sports. You want to do a quick breeze through the food and dining section? Is that too much to ask? I know I usually just power through this section. This is really nothing much. I mean, they're talking about corned beef getting an upgrade at Schisslinger's. Schisslinger's. I feel like I've heard about this restaurant before. Schisslinger's Deli near Rittenhouse Square. This is Craig Laban taking a look at the corned beef and pastrami Reuben. Oh, they put both? Put both corned beef and pastrami on the Reuben? Now, you know, that gets me to pause in the food and dining that I would normally power through just to appreciate the Reuben. Right? I go pastrami usually in my Reubens over corned beef. I prefer pastrami, but if they're going to go both, excuse me. God, country, corned beef. The catchphrase has long been one of the Philadelphia restaurant slogans I most relate to. Jewish delis are my ultimate soul food, says Craig Laban. A hot corned beef sandwich is the stuff of my comfort dreams. The only problem, the restaurant that wears this moniker, Schlissinger's Deli, in Rittenhouse Square, has always left me cold and has never traditionally made my list of favorite local delis. Well, if Craig Laban doesn't have you on his list, you might as well just close up shop. Just wondering why Schlissinger's, I should be able to pronounce this better. I am doing newspaper reads every day, after all. My diction should be flawless. The deli's owner and Philadelphia council member at large, Alan Dome, wrote me in late 2019, if there is something we need to do to improve, please let us know. Hey, I appreciate that, Alan Dobb. You're like, hey, I'm just trying to pitch my deli, and I want it to be the best it could be. I also happen to be a council member. Don't take this email the wrong way, Craig, but what's up? Don't you know who I am? Well, since he asked, I noted our past experiences with poorly cleaned tables and disorganized service. The food? Well, I appreciate the pickle bar, but the menu itself was inconsistent and perfunctory at best, with soups that weren't always hot, and gasp, dry corned beef. When we visited, occasionally out of convenience, I stuck with the chef's salad. To my surprise, though, and to Alan's credit, he replied this summer with a pledge. He said, I agree. Here's his pledge. I agree. And now is the time for me to elevate and make it the deli we should have. He made a promise to Craig. With a new team in place under the company's new director of restaurant operations, Josh Bullock, and deli manager Sarah Robbins, I recently decided to give the new Schlesingers a test nosh. He's still not dining inside, so he can't comment on the improved cleanliness or whether that's the case and whether the service practices they've implemented, have really, caught on and improved the whole ambiance of the place. But he can say the meal he ordered for takeout was a clear step up in quality based on a renewed dedication to scratch cooking that Bullock concedes had long been filled with prefab ingredients. What about that matzo ball soup? Well, came out piping hot in a pale but naturally full-flavored house broth that's no longer, quote, stretched with store-bought cans. Wait, let's get right to the case. Let's cut right to the chase. Where is the corned beef? Here we go. But really, what I covet most is a deli that has mastered the basics, and most significantly, Schlesingers has fixed its corned beef. And I'll breathe a sigh of relief with that, right? Ooh. Boosting some clove and juniper and the pickling spice, and cooking it slower and lower to keep the meat more tender, easier to slice, and far more juicy. It's piled 8 ounces high versus the old 6-ounce edition. So those 2 extra ounces make a big difference. And here we go, along with smoky strami. They say pastrami, but we all know it's called strami. Smoky strami, Russian dressing, sauerkraut, and molten Swiss on griddled Kaplan's rye bread. This was a riff on the Reuben I'd happily return for. So Craig says, hey, you took my advice. I'll give you a shout out. Thank you. It's tasty. Tasty Reuben. So if you want, some pastrami or corned beef today, get yourself into the city, near Rittenhouse Square. Schlesingers got an improved sandwich for your taste buds' pleasure. Now, let's do this together. Let's go to region. Does that work? I think. What's in the region? And then we got to go to the front section then and carry on with our day. What's this? Fighting hunger. Front page of the region. Fighting hunger. This picture caption is, it's a startling sight in a middle-class Upper Darby neighborhood. An outdoor market in a driveway created by Desiree Lamar Murphy's contacts and convictions. Here she is. She's outside her she shed, is what she calls it, where she stores equipment for the food pantry on her property in Upper Darby. It's like regular people have to do this. Regular people have to figure out how to give, people who need food, and are starving for food. They have to create, I hadn't read a sentence, but they have to create, a pantry in their driveway of their house. Because we, as a city, country, I don't know, whatever it is, just can't keep people out of food poverty. Can't make sure they have stuff to eat. Desiree Lamar Murphy grew up without enough food. So it's been going on since, the mid-1980s? Back in the mid-1980s, school days were the hardest. When she'd sit without lunch in the cafeteria of the former William B. Mann Elementary School in the Winfield section of Philadelphia, watching other kids eat. My guess is that's been at least hopefully rectified. When kids in school don't have meals, there goes the snow plow. Kids in school who don't have meals, they can get a meal. Free meal. Years later, after life improved a bit, an apartment fire left her and her children temporarily homeless and dependent on church-donated food that was lovingly bestowed but spoiled and inedible. The foodless lunch periods in the after-fire charity forged Lamar Murphy, now 43, into an unparalleled hunger fighter. Trained as a special ed teacher and now a special needs coordinator for the school district of Philadelphia, Lamar Murphy promised herself 2 things: to never suffer hunger and to help feed children and their families by creating food pantries in schools and other locations throughout the region. And now, during the pandemic, she distinguished herself as perhaps the only person in the Philadelphia area who runs a food pantry out of her home. Lamar Murphy created a network of food donors for the pantry herself and stores some of the supplies in the 550 square foot building she calls her she shed in her Upper Darby backyard. People label survivors of hard times resilient, said Lamar Murphy, a widowed mother of 5 daughters, but she explained there's also something called post-traumatic growth. Quote, bouncing back from trauma isn't enough. You have to do something with your trauma. You grow and become someone better for somebody else, not just for yourself. You're healing yourself, and you're helping others. Looks like there's some people benefiting from her work. If you want to read more about Miss Lamar Murphy's incredible generousness and selflessness, stepping up for institutions that are failing us, Inquirer.com, region section. There's a good amount more to the article. I'm definitely going to read the whole thing, but in the interest of trying to keep everybody abreast of what's in the region section, I'm going to move, okay? But I recommend you check out the article on Phila.com, Inquirer.com. Okay, we've made it to the life inset section inside the region. You know, it's that time. It's that time. It's that time, people. Let's get to it. Let's get to Carolyn's advice column, huh? I mean, that's something we could do, eh? Here she is. What's the question today? I used to be fairly good at making small talk and had to do it often. Since being a working parent of young kids, though, I find I just absolutely cannot stand social events where I'm going to have to spend precious minutes asking questions of strangers about their work and what shows they're watching or whatever. Hey, listen, I don't like talking to people. Can I just tell them that? They ask me, like, how's work and what shows do you like? Can I just say, listen, I'm not really a talking to people kind of person. So can you just go over there? Leave me be. I just feel the minutes ticking away, and I obsess over all the housework and other stuff I'm falling behind on. And I can't bring myself to care at all what the other person is saying. It sounds like you might be a little depressed, anxious, anxiety issues. Yet now that my kids are at the age of play dates and basketball games, I'm in these small talky situations a lot, and I feel like I must be the most unpleasant partner ever for it. I do have actual friends, and I find that I would rather spend my limited free time having real conversations with them. Somebody might have skidded out outside. About our deeper and more private feelings. A lot of noise out there. I don't know if you can hear that. Messing up my audio quality. Hey, could you plow the streets after the read? Don't you know this is the studio for the daily newspaper read? Come on. Do you have any suggestions for making these encounters less brutal? They just feel like such, capital letters, S-U-C-H, such a waste of everyone's time. Carolyn says. Wait, no, they're not. Not unless you make them so by not caring. These small talks are the runways to the eventual, quote, real conversations about those, quote, deeper and more private feelings. Sometimes you get there right away, but most of the time you and other people need to break each other in and test for commonality. You know this, no doubt. What you're perhaps forgetting is that not everyone in these conversations with you is all set with, quote, actual friends. Some people are going to be new to the school or the neighborhood. Some may have friends move away. Some may have friends who don't have kids, so they're kind of in a different orbit and want friends in this orbit so it isn't a lonely decade of pretending to be fascinated by elementary school basketball. And you can certainly argue that it's not your responsibility to solve other people's social problems. But think for a second how easily you could be in that spot yourself. Maybe you suddenly have to move. Maybe your kid transfers to a different school. Maybe 2 or 3 of your closest people gradually become unavailable to you. It happens. It's hard. Plus, you could outgrow your friends, or your kids could outgrow their friends. By essentially declaring that you quit and have made all the friends you're going to make in this life, you're denying yourself whatever joys serendipity to offer. So please think carefully before you demote small talky situations to a priority below your laundry piles. To me, the quote waste of everyone's time is worrying about laundry. As I was saying, anxiety, worry. Breathe in, breathe out, be in your moment, especially if it involves people who want to connect. Even if you can't 100% get there right now, please at least see the value in it. That'll do a lot of the work for you, I suspect. Hey, I get it. Small talk can be a pain. It can be like drudgery. But you can't just shut yourself off from interactions with people because you already have your set group. You're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. Even if you just listen. Focus on listening. You don't even do much of the talking. And learn a few things. Speaking of learning a few things, what am I going to learn today about my horoscope? What's the snow day have in store for me, if anything? And my fellow Scorpios. Comfort at home is in your thoughts. All right. You would relish a roomier, improved residence. You could seek a new apartment or schedule home improvements. Well, I'm not getting a new apartment. I would love to have more space. And I guess we just put a new sink in our main bathroom, a new vanity. I gotta paint it now. So she has not completely off base. Thanks, Madeline. I like to be comfortable at home, so that is in my thoughts. What do you guys think? Wasn't not a bad horoscope today. Not totally bogus. Now, we'll move to the last section of the read, which is the front section, ironically. What do you think's in the front section today? Anything awesome? Yeah, I mean, we're all going to be following this impeachment trial, I think. I don't know how much you watched of it yesterday. But, this type of news, you can break that news beyond a newspaper, obviously. That's everywhere. Look at this slideshow that they laid out. It's an interesting slideshow, like the agenda. First step. You read that? I'm trying to get that for you. Not easy. I'm on focus here, camera. Not doing it. I'm talking about this slideshow here. Well, you get a sense. 1, 2, 3. Number 1 says, the big lie, the election was stolen. Number 2 says, stop the steal. Number 3 says, fight like hell to stop the steal. And that's how the impeachment managers, I believe, laid out the case. Those 3 items. Well, you want to read more about that, go wherever, because it's everywhere. You can follow that into your heart's content, and whether that means you're going to be working yourself up into a frenzy, releasing some anger in some way, I don't know what, but there's a lot of emotions to be had in that story. Variant spreads across the region. New cases of the more transmissible strain are confirmed at Penn and in Montgomery County. It's no good. The coronavirus variant, first identified in the UK, is likely spreading across the Philadelphia region at a higher rate than is being detected, with new cases confirmed Wednesday in Montgomery County and at the University of Pennsylvania. 4 people who caught the more transmissible strain have spread the virus to others in Montco, officials said. None of the 4 reported having recently traveled. Quote, all of this signals to us that the variant is likely much more widespread within the community than can be confirmed through lab testing, said Val Arkush, a physician and chair of the Montgomery County Commissioners. Experts agree the UK variant is transmitted more easily between people than the original COVID-19 strain, but say it has not mutated enough to render the existing vaccines ineffective. They're still studying whether it is more deadly, according to the CDC. Speaking of the CDC, I want to get back to the other previous pages we just skipped through, but right here, CDC says 2 masks better than 1. You may have seen that. U.S. government researchers found that 2 masks are better in slowing coronavirus spread, but health officials stopped short of recommending that everyone double up. Well, that's good to know. I was wondering, do I need to now put 2 of those blue masks on my face, those medical masks? CDC reported the results of a lab experiment that spaced 2 artificial heads 6 feet from each other and checked to see how many coronavirus-sized particles spewed by one were inhaled by the other. Researchers found that wearing one mask, surgical or cloth, blocked around 40% of the particles. When a cloth mask was worn on top of a surgical mask, about 80% were blocked. When both the exhaling and inhaling heads were double masked, more than 95% of the particles were blocked. That sounds to me like you should be wearing 2 masks. I mean, you go from 40%, right? You go from 40% in one of those masks to 95 if both people have doubled up. 40% is low. So we're wearing a mask for only blocking 40%. Seems like we should get better masks. Or it was a higher particle blockage than that. Whew. Moving through the front section quietly, peacefully. Business inset. Nothing major here for me. Amazon told to halt pesticide sales. The EPA has issued the order for the 3rd time, aiming to stop illegal as well as ineffective items. But if you're interested in getting some pesticides, you might have some harder time doing it through Amazon, or not at all. For the 3rd time in 3 years, the federal EPA has ordered Amazon to stop selling illegal pesticides on its online marketplace, saying the chemicals pose a, quote, significant and immediate health risk to consumers, children, pets, and others exposed to the products. All right. We are at the letters and op-eds. And that means we're going to take a look at today's letter. What's today's letter? Who are the contestants? We welcome Gene Barr, President and CEO, Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry. Inquirer puts the headline on his article as Taxes on New Drilling. Or we could read Deborah Gross, President and CEO, Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts. Independent Judiciary Committee crucial. C. Tom Howes, Havertown. Delco tax reassessment. That's Delaware County, for those not in the know. Dave Lech, Philadelphia. 7 killed in 24 hours. So far, that might be the winner. So far, that might be the front runner. Phyllis Rubin, Wynwood, remedy for gun violence victims. Steve Archie Arcadiacono, Havertown. Invoice Trump for the $519 million. And Linda Banneker, Plymouth Meeting, Amendment to End Disaster Declaration. We're going to go with 7 killed in 24 hours, and then we're going to actually do a bonus letter. And we're going to do the Invoice Trump one. Okay? 7 killed in 24 hours by Dave Lech. We continue to see horrific videos, horrific violence and death to the young people of the city. I almost breezed by the article in Tuesday's edition, but I forced myself to turn back the page and read the entire coverage. In order to solve a problem, we need to face it first. And while I know there is no easy solution, we have to come together to identify and address all avenues, drugs, guns, poverty, etc., that lead to this heavy death toll. It's heartbreaking to see so many young futures, each with limitless potential, lost in a moment. Another short one from Steve in Havertown. The American people should not be held accountable for the cost of Trump's lies. Every cent of the $519 million plus that we've wasted so far on having to quash his ego-driven attempt to establish a dictatorship should be charged directly to him, not us. He says he's a billionaire. Let him prove it. Make him pick up the tab. He's run up. Here's your letters for the day, including a bonus letter. Now, we're going to look at the featured op-eds here. We just look at the featured op-eds, see like who made this one section. Hold on a minute, though. Before I get to that, the featured Editorial Board op-ed taking on the whole Philadelphia school situation. I don't want to read that. More voices needed. The mayor must step up as school reopening debacle pits teachers versus district. Lead editorial by the Editorial Board, today's Inquirer. Let's see what it says a little bit. The latest public school debacle unfolded this week when teachers refused to return to classrooms at the direction of Philadelphia Federation of Teacher boss Jerry Jordan, defying Superintendent William R. Height Jr.'s directive for them to show up. When Height threatened no-shows with discipline, Mayor Jim Kenney stepped in and said teachers could stay away after all. The call was for 2,000 teachers to return to classrooms Monday to prepare a limited reopening for about 9,000 pre-K through second grade students on 2/22. The district says it has worked to make buildings safe for return, but the PFT balked at some elements of the plans for ventilation, hence the showdown. Reopening schools is probably the most thorny and challenging of all the problems presented by the pandemic. Every side represents opposing pressures. Parents with jobs who need kids to be in school, educators and other child advocates alarmed about the devastating loss not only of in-person learning, but social supports provided by schools, and families and teachers concerned about safety. Add this to lack of consistent guidance or support from the federal government, and it's a dilemma playing out in school districts across the country, with few satisfactory solutions. Philadelphia has the additional challenges of racial and economic inequities, ancient buildings, and a history of inadequate funding. A trust gap between the district and teachers and parents has been exacerbated by blunders by the district in addressing environmental hazards, recently centered on Ben Franklin High School sharing its site with Science Leadership Academy. This week, the PFT said the district has not shared enough data on ventilation standards. It all adds up to a no-win situation, but there must be a path to opening schools, above all for the sake of children suffering irretrievable losses in their education and development. Of course, the PFT has a stake in safety issues faced by the district and has given teachers a powerful voice in this particular debate. But other voices must have equal standing. Turning this into a teacher versus district fight is not the path. A district that often falls short of communicating is a problem, and as Superintendent Height is ultimately accountable. But the size and the complexity of this problem cannot rest only on his shoulders. When Mayor Kennedy took control of the schools back from the state and created the local school board, he claimed, quote, Philadelphia will finally be able to hold one person accountable for their school system, the mayor. He must now be a bigger part of the solution. The pandemic immediately laid bare failures and flaws in public education in this city, and others that have been generations in the making. The path toward fixing it requires a much wider conversation that must happen now. Mayor Kennedy has the power to convene a working group that includes not only the district and the union, but parents, educators, child advocates, elected officials, as well as members of the business community who have an important stake in this. They should commit to the immediate task of reopening schools and the longer-term task of rethinking how public education should work for all. It's time to end standoffs and begin standing up. 100%. 100% editorial board. I agree. We have to stop with the staking positions and staking positions in the ground and then not moving on them and having this battle. Instead, saying how can we come up with a solution together? How can we work together? And then just the headlines for the other op-eds. Failing to combat racism is a failure to combat COVID. Rain Miller, educator and freelance writer based in southern New Jersey. As gun violence surges in Philadelphia, we need to prepare kids for the worst. Former Mayor Mike Nutter on this one here. The 98th Mayor of Philadelphia and the founder of Cities United and board member of the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation. A little piece here from him, if you want to read that. And then lastly, using executive power to support clean energy. Christine Todd Whitman, another big name, talking about Biden's first orders are only the beginning of the actions his administration will need to take. She is the president of the Whitman Strategy Group and the 50th governor of New Jersey, from 1995 to 2001. Some big names in the op-ed section today if you want to go check that out on Inquirer.com, or even better, why don't you buy yourself a newspaper? Or subscribe to one and get it delivered to your house. Support printed news. It's kind of one of the whole underlying motivations for this little program. Bring some attention to the printed news. Anyway, hope you had a good time today. And stay warm, stay dry if you're in an area getting some snow or other precipitation. And until tomorrow, enjoy your day. Happy reading, whatever else you choose to read today.